It is 7:30 on a Friday night circa 2006. You've just come in from playing outside and grabbed a snack, and you sit down in front of the TV and turn it on to flip through your favorite channels. As you stop on Cartoon Network, you catch the final few frames of Courage the Cowardly Dog before it cuts to a commercial break. Before that commercial plays, though, a cityscape appears on the screen. The moody lighting and cozy sounds of the city are only made more comforting as a gaggle of your favorite cartoon characters walk across the street together. All from different shows, all in their own art styles, and yet for the first time ever you get to see them interacting with each other. This short clip fades, and you are left with that familiar taste of nostalgia and a reason to keep watching the channel, even through the commercials. You just watched a bumper. We're all familiar with them. We've all seen a short clip or an animation paired with the message, "We'll be right back after these messages." But how did they start? Back in the late 70s, the FCC put regulations in place that required broadcasts of children's programming to include some kind of announcement before commercial breaks. The concern was that advertisers were unethically preying upon children who, having not yet developed, may have trouble discerning between a commercial and their favorite cartoon. The bumper was made, and while the practice has mostly fallen out of style as the FCC relaxed their regulations, there are some broadcasting networks that have turned the bumper into an art form. And in the era of nostalgia appreciation and liminality, I think it's time to talk about them. At this point, every video essayist has talked about liminal spaces and added their own 2 cents to the subject, and I don't expect to say anything new, but I still think it's worth making the connection between bumpers and liminality. If you don't know, a liminal space is defined as a space that is between 2 thresholds, or a transitional space between a starting destination and an ending one. Always, airports, hotels. You know, the ones you always see when you browse our liminal spaces, but in the form of media, is there a better example than the television bumper? For myself and many others, in order for something to feel liminal, it also has to feel nostalgic. It isn't enough to take a picture of any hallway. No, it has to feel like a hallway I've seen before, even if in my dreams, for that liminal feeling to hit. Nothing, and I mean nothing, gives me that bittersweet comfort and eerie nostalgia like watching old Cartoon Network bumpers. They are the most transitional kind of media that exists, literally being made to transition you from the programming you are watching and the commercial ads that keep the network on the air. But not all bumpers are made equal. For every memorable one made by Adult Swim or Cartoon Network, you have a dozen bumpers that are just simple animations of text appearing on the screen with a little jingle. These, however, are some of my favorites in no particular order. The Cartoon Network City bumpers. These bumpers were phenomenal. They did so much more than just create a transition between the shows. They established this idea that all the characters from Cartoon Network lived in the same giant city. It was like each bumper gave us a chance to see what happened when the characters weren't in an episode of their show. Like there was a bigger secret life that Johnny Bravo or Samurai Jack was living, and we were given these snippets of it. I think my favorite out of all of these was the one where they were doing laundry together, and Johnny Bravo was in a robe, and Jack was basically naked. Toonami. Toonami bumpers felt like they were a show all on their own, and in a way they were. Toonami's program block was hosted by this little robot named Tom, and he was so beloved by the fans that he eventually got this big event where the Toonami ship was being invaded by some alien life form, and the original Tom was replaced by Tom 2. Honestly, the Toonami lore goes hard. They delivered with these bumpers. Adult Swim. Absolute classics. I couldn't do a video about bumpers without talking about Adult Swim. Adult Swim bumpers were weird and creepy, and sometimes completely nonsensical. Many of them were intentionally made off-putting to scare away kids when the adult programming was about to come on. As a kid that watched Cartoon Network, I will admit with no shame that totally worked on me.